Friends, the story I'm going to tell you today is based on a true incident. This is the story of Yossi Ginsberg. He sets out for an adventure in a jungle, but the Amazon jungle swallows him alive. His return journey is so dangerous that his survival story is famous all over the world today. At the beginning of the story, we are shown a man named Yossi Ginsberg. Yossi is from Israel, and after working in the army for 3 years, he sets out for Bolivia. He always wanted to do something different. Now he is sitting in a boat and going towards an island. This is a very large island, and further ahead there was also a dense rainforest of the Amazon. In this journey, he meets a man named Marcus, who becomes very good friends with Yossi. Marcus is a school teacher. He is a very funny type. After some time, both of them also reach the jungle of the island. Now Marcus and Yossi are roaming in this village when Marcus finds his photographer friend Kevin there. Both are very happy to see each other after a long time. Marcus introduces Kevin to Yossi, and then Yossi and Kevin become very good friends. Now that night, after spending a lot of time and having fun, everyone goes to sleep. The next day comes, October 15th, 1981. Yossi, Marcus, and Kevin take a bus to explore more of the island. They soon reach another city called La Paz, where a big fair is happening. They spend the whole day enjoying the fair. The following day, while Yossi is walking around the city, he meets a man named Carl. Carl asks if Yossi is American. Yossi says no, and they sit down to have some ginger tea together. Carl tells Yossi that he's from Australia and has been living in the jungle for many years. He says he can give Yossi the real adventure he's been looking for. He talks about a hidden tribe deep in the forest with a culture that's thousands of years old. He tells Yossi that the place is unlike anything in the modern world and that it's full of peace and mystery. Yossi is excited after hearing this. That same evening, he shares everything with his friends Marcus and Kevin. At first, they are unsure. Carl is a stranger. How can they trust him? But Yossi tries to convince them, saying they'll see things they never imagined. After some thought, both Marcus and Kevin finally agree to go. The next morning, Carl shows them a map and explains the route. The journey will be tough, so the group prepares by gathering supplies and getting ready for the challenge ahead. The next important day arrives, November 4th, 1981. The group boards a small plane and flies to a place called Apollo, which is near the edge of the dense Amazon rainforest. From there, they begin their journey on foot, walking and talking throughout the day. As night falls, they set up their tents, light a fire in the middle, and eat dinner together. After that, they all go to sleep. The next morning, everyone wakes up in a good mood and continues deeper into the forest. Now they're in a really thick part of the jungle. The plants here are so sharp and dangerous that if they brush against your skin, they can cut you and cause bleeding. Carl warns the group to hurry, saying it might rain soon. Kevin looks up at the clear sky and jokes that there's not a single cloud, wondering how Carl could be so sure. The others laugh too, but just as Carl predicted, it suddenly starts to rain hard. Because of the heavy rain, they're forced to stop walking and set up camp again. Their clothes and bags get soaked, and most of their supplies are damaged. They struggle to stay dry and warm, and somehow manage to get through the night despite the miserable conditions. The next morning, as they continue walking, the group finally reaches their first checkpoint, a Karamis. When they arrive, Yossi, Kevin, and Marcus notice that the villagers know Carl very well. It's clear that he has visited this place many times before. The village is small but peaceful. The people there live happily without any internet, phones, or social media, completely disconnected from the modern world. After spending some time enjoying the peaceful atmosphere, the group continues their journey deeper into the jungle. They keep walking through the forest until they eventually reach a river. They decide to follow the river's path to make the rest of the journey easier. While walking, Carl spots a monkey in the trees. He takes out his gun and shoots it, planning to use it as food for the night. As evening comes, they light a fire and begin cooking the monkey. Carl eats it easily without hesitation, but Kevin and Yossi feel disgusted by it at first. However, after a while, their hunger wins, and they decide to eat a little too. Only Marcus still refuses. The sight and smell of the meat makes him sick, and he starts vomiting. Seeing Marcus's condition, Carl tries to comfort him and says, "Don't worry, I'll cook some rice for you. You can eat that instead." The next morning, the group continues their journey, but something terrible happens. Marcus gets injured. Both of his legs are badly hurt and start bleeding. He's in so much pain that he can't walk anymore. Seeing his condition, the group decides they should stop walking and instead travel by river using a boat. However, Carl strongly disagrees. He warns them that the river is dangerous with fast-moving waves and powerful currents. But Kevin and Yossi are worried about Marcus and insist they have no choice. Seeing their determination, Carl finally agrees, even though he's clearly unhappy about it. They all work together to cut down some trees and tie the logs together to build a makeshift raft. At first, it seems like they might be able to make it, but as they move deeper into the river, the situation becomes worse. The current grows stronger, the waves grow wilder, and the raft becomes harder to control. Carl starts shouting directions, telling everyone to steer to the right, not the left. But the river is too strong. The raft is spinning and bouncing in all directions. Even Carl, who seemed so confident before, begins to panic and loses control of the situation. Eventually, they manage to get the raft to the shore, but tensions exploded. Kevin gets angry and blames Carl for not guiding them properly. Carl, now furious and frustrated, snaps. He tells them he's done being their guide. If they want to continue on the boat, they can do it without him. From this point on, he says he's no longer responsible for them. After a while, things calm down between the group. Kevin and Yossi sit together and start talking. Kevin tells Yossi that he wants to keep traveling down the river. After thinking it over, the three friends make a decision. Carl and Marcus will go back and wait for them, while Kevin and Yossi will continue their journey by boat. Marcus agrees to this plan too, even though it's hard for him. Before parting ways, the three friends make a promise. They'll meet again in Lapai when the journey's over, and everything will go back to how it was before. With that, Yossi and Kevin take their boat back to the river and continue the journey. Days turn into weeks, and the two manage to travel smoothly for quite a while. By now, it's been over a month since they first began this adventure. Then comes December 1st, a day that changes everything. Their boat is floating calmly at first, but suddenly the water becomes rough. The current grows stronger, and the waves become wild. They try to steer the boat, but the flow is too powerful. The boat picks up speed and slams into a huge rock in the middle of the river. The impact is so strong that the boat gets stuck there, and both of them are left struggling. They're panicked and unsure of what to do next. The waves are crashing violently. Yossi is terrified. Kevin sees the shore not too far away and tells Yossi he's going to swim to it and then come back to help him. Yossi begs him not to leave, saying he's scared and doesn't want to be left alone. But Kevin promises he'll return and then jumps into the river. With great effort, Kevin swims to the shore. He tries to come back to help Yossi, but before he can, Yossi's hand slips. The current grabs him and pulls him away. Kevin watches helplessly as his friend is swept down the river. He screams in frustration and despair, but there's nothing he can do. Yossi is swept far away by the river. When he finally regains consciousness, he finds himself clinging to a rock. As the water calms, he manages to pull himself to the shore. In front of him stands a massive mountain. With great effort, he climbs up and starts shouting Kevin's name, hoping he's nearby. But in this endless forest, the two friends are now completely separated. By nightfall, it begins to rain. Yossi, cold and exhausted, curls up on a stone and falls asleep under the open sky. The next morning, he's woken by the sound of metal clinking. He rushes toward the river and sees something floating in the water. It's his backpack. As it nears the shore, he jumps into the river and grabs it. Inside the bag, Yossi finds a few important things: his map, some food, and an energy pill called Superman. He eats one pill and suddenly feels a burst of energy. Forgetting his hunger and thirst for a while, he begins to run, calling out for Kevin again as he moves across the mountain. Eventually, he reaches the other edge of the forest, but Kevin is nowhere to be found. Using his map, Yossi marks a path and chooses a point where he plans to head next. He spends the night there, hoping he's getting closer to rescue. Days pass. Yossi is now deep in a part of the Amazon rainforest where no one had likely ever set foot. 6 days go by. He walks alone in pain, his feet badly wounded. He hasn't eaten a proper meal in days. One day while walking, he spots a snake in a tree. With the little strength he has left, he knocks it down and eats it raw. That night, his mind begins to break. He starts dreaming of burgers and delicious food. Hunger is making him hallucinate. He takes another one of those Superman pills to keep going, but the side effects begin to show. His mind becomes more confused. He starts seeing and hearing things that aren't real, slipping further into a state between reality and delusion. One night, while Yossi is trying to sleep, he hears something moving nearby. As he looks, he sees a lion approaching. Terrified but quick thinking, he pulls out a can from his bag, attaches it to his fire spray, and uses it as a flamethrower to scare the lion away. Somehow it works. The lion runs off, and Yossi survives another night. The next morning, he wakes up extremely hungry. As he walks through the jungle, he finds some bird eggs and eats them to survive. Day after day, he keeps moving, pushing through the pain and hunger. Eventually, he reaches a place he recognizes, one of the earlier checkpoints he had marked on his map. But when he checks the map again and figures out where he is, his heart sinks. His destination is still miles and miles away. He feels completely defeated. He tries to stay strong, telling himself, "You're an explorer. You can do this. People will come to rescue you soon." But another voice in his mind fights back. "No one's coming. You're going to die out here." Trying to stay hopeful, Yossi keeps moving forward. Then he spots footprints on the ground. He feels a sudden rush of joy. Maybe Kevin was here. He starts calling his friend's name, convinced he's close. But soon he finds some broken eggshells and realizes the harsh truth. It was a mistake. He's walking in circles. He's ended up back where he started. Angry and heartbroken, he begins yelling at himself. He curses his choices, thinking back to when his father wanted him to become a lawyer. But Yosi had insisted he needed a year to explore. That decision brought him here to this living nightmare. That night, he dreams of a fancy casino and a beautiful woman pouring a glass of water on him. Suddenly, he wakes up. Real water is pouring over him. A powerful storm has hit the jungle. The slope he's on is flooding, and he's about to be swept away. With great effort, he pulls himself out of the flood and hides in whatever shelter he can find. That night, Yosi breaks down completely. He sobs, realizing the horrible truth. No one is coming to save him. This jungle stretches over 400 to 500 kilometers, and it's been 15 days. He's all alone, completely lost. Meanwhile, we finally see Kevin. He's lying weak and exhausted on the bank of the river. It seems like he too has been wandering through the jungle for days. Luckily, a local boy and his father find him and rush to help. They bring Kevin back to their small riverside village. Once in the village, Kevin slowly starts to recover. As soon as he regains some strength, he goes to the local police station and tells them about his friend Yosi, who's still lost in the jungle. The police inform him that the place Kevin and Yosi were last seen is nearly 100 kilometers away from the village. Desperate to help his friend, Kevin begs the police to launch a rescue. Soon, Kevin and an officer take off in a helicopter, flying over the vast, unforgiving jungle. They search every corner they can, but the Amazon is too dense. The trees are so thick that even sunlight can barely reach the forest floor. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. At that moment, Yosi hears the sound of the helicopter overhead. His heart leaps. He scrambles onto a large rock and waves his red raincoat, screaming for help. But from the sky, nothing below is visible. The helicopter passes right over him without stopping. Crushed and furious, Yosi bangs his head in frustration. The moment he had waited 15 days for, the moment someone would finally come to rescue him, came and went, and they didn't even see him. He wasn't saved. That night, his mind starts to unravel. He sees visions of his friends and his parents in dreams, his thoughts drifting between hope and despair. He's exhausted, mentally and physically broken. Then the next morning, something unexpected happens. When Yosi wakes up, he sees a tribal girl sitting quietly under a tree nearby, watching him. He approaches her slowly, trying to speak, but she doesn't understand his language and looks scared. Yosi calms her down with soft gestures, showing her that he means no harm. Yosi starts to believe she's also lost, just like him, trapped in this endless forest. So he makes a quiet promise he will protect her. As Yosi continues with the tribal girl, he offers her something to eat. At first she refuses, and this small rejection breaks Yosi completely. He bursts into tears and begs her, "Please eat. I'm so hungry. If you eat, it'll make me feel better." Seeing his pain, the girl finally accepts the food. For a moment, Yosi feels comforted. That night, they sleep beside each other in the jungle. But when Yosi wakes up the next morning, he's alone again. The girl is gone. He looks around and realizes the truth. She was never real. It was all in his mind. A hallucination. His loneliness, fear, and need for connection had created her. In such deep isolation, it's natural for the brain to create companions, someone to talk to, someone to care for. But now that illusion is gone, and the crushing loneliness returns. Meanwhile, after searching for many days, the police begin to lose hope. They start believing Yosi must be dead, but Kevin refuses to give up. Deep inside, he's sure Yosi is still alive. He pleads with the police, but they say they've done all they can. Still, Kevin tells them he'll continue the search alone if he has to. Seeing his determination, one of the officers finally gives him a lead, a boatman's name and location. He tells Kevin that his best chance now is to search for Yosi by following the river's path. Kevin wastes no time. He's ready to do whatever it takes to bring his friend home. Back in the jungle, 3 full weeks have now passed. Yosi is wandering like a broken soul, wounded, starving, barely alive. His mind is slipping away. Then one day he stumbles into a deep swamp. His body sinks, and for a moment he gives up. He doesn't even try to get out. He's too tired, too defeated. But then something strange happens. He sees his grandfather in a dream. His grandfather speaks to him firmly, lovingly, telling him to fight, to get out, to live. That vision gives Yosi just enough strength. With every last bit of willpower, he pulls himself out of the swamp. But he's so weak he can't even take a single step forward. He's collapsing, dying. So in one final act of desperation, he lies near a nest of red ants and lets them bite him. The pain is unbearable. His body burns with agony. He screams so loud, hoping someone, anyone might hear him. His skin is covered in wounds now. Yossi somehow drags himself to the riverbank. He's weak, starving, and near the end of his strength. In front of him, he sees a turtle. He wants to kill it for food, but he can't. He just stares at it, defeated. At this point, he no longer wants to eat or drink. He's completely broken inside and out. That night, lying by the river, Yossi finally gives up. He looks up at the sky and says, "I'm not fighting anymore. I've become part of this forest now." He accepts his fate. But then something small and beautiful happens. A butterfly lands gently on his hand. It's like a sign from nature, a whisper of hope. And just like that, he collapses, fainting on the riverbank. The next day, Kevin arrives at that very spot with the boatman, still searching, refusing to give up. But Yossi is lying motionless, between some stones, so well hidden by the train that Kevin doesn't see him. Heartbroken, Kevin believes Yossi might already be dead. Sadly, he turns the boat around. As the boat begins to move away, Yossi, barely conscious, hears voices crying and staggering. He somehow stands up, musters the strength to wave and call out to his friend, but his throat is so dry that no sound comes out. Still, he smiles, just glad to see someone after so long. Suddenly, Kevin turns his head and he sees him. It's Yossi alive. Kevin shouts at the boatman, "Turn around!" And they rush back. Kevin jumps out and runs to Yossi, hugging him tightly. Tears fall as he says, "I told you I wouldn't leave you." Together, Kevin and the boatman bring Yossi back to their village. He receives treatment and slowly begins to recover. At the end of the story, the screen fades to text. It tells us that Kevin and Yossi made it back to La Paz. They waited, hoping that Carl and Marcus would already be there, but they never showed up. Later, they discovered the shocking truth. Carl was actually a wanted criminal. He had lured other travelers into the jungle before, and none of them were ever seen again. And that ancient tribe he spoke of, it didn't exist. It was all a lie. No one knows what Carl really did with those people. Yossi Ginsberg's story of survival against all odds became known around the world. A story of pain, hope, and unimaginable strength.